Hello, you big, beautiful world you are, and the beautiful people that reside upon this beautiful rock. Welcome to the podcast of Brothers of Many Words. I am your host, King RP.
I am your co-host, King Mackie.
Co-host King Christopher.
Hit us with that affirmation, brother.
All right, affirmation for today. We stand together as brothers, united in purpose and grounded in respect. We move with love, speak with clarity, and carry peace. No ego, no division, only growth. Each voice matters. Together we build something greater. We are aligned. We are ready. Peace in our energy, power in our unity, and purpose in our message. It is done.
It is done. Absolutely. The purpose of the podcast is so to create a space for open, honest, and thought-provoking discussions across a wide range of subjects. Through the reading of books, articles, and shared knowledge, we engage in dialogue that allows us to explore ideas, challenge perspectives, and deepen our understanding. This platform is built on discussion, review, and respectable debate, where growth is the goal and learning is continuous. As we evolve through each conversation, we not only enlighten ourselves, but also invite others to join us on this journey of awareness, insight, and transformation. Together, we seek truth, expand perspectives, and build something meaningful, one conversation at a time. How's everybody doing? How's everybody
Love
doing?
and laughing, brother.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Any special plans for Mother's Day today?
Not really. You know, I'm gonna cook. I'm gonna do my thing. I'm gonna let baby relax and just chill. And I tell her, you know, I try to tell her thank you every day.
Absolutely.
That's my whole point. I look to tell her thank you every day for what she does. And so really today's just another day, but we're gonna make it more special for her.
That's right. What you gonna grease on in that kitchen?
Man, bro, I don't know, man. It's kind of whatever she wants. I'm waiting on her to tell me what she wants to do, or we'll go out to eat. There's a place where we went to go. So my birthday was Friday, and so we drove to Columbia to go out to eat, and the place was packed. It was like an hour and a half wait. And so we ended up going to another location. So I'm thinking when I get back off the podcast, I'm gonna go take her out to eat if she will let me. If she'll let me.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good
My old lady, she just wants to chill for the day, man.
Yeah.
So we'll let her do her thing.
That's right. Unfortunately, my baby boo's got to go to work, so we'll have to do something later on down the road. I hate it for her, but I'm on the same line, just like whatever she wants to do, get hot in the kitchen if she needs to be, whatever the case may be, man. Whatever the case may be. What you be cooking in that kitchen, Haru? What you cooking in that kitchen?
I don't look. I'm a breakfast guy. I can make anything breakfast. I'm not very handy in the kitchen, but she loves my omelets, bro. She loves my omelets. Cool. I get down in the kitchen. So my dad was a person. Look, we always knew when it was a special day with my parents because my dad would get up. He'll be singing and humming in the kitchen and making breakfast. And I'm like, yeah, he got him some last night.
We've been eating good today.
Right on.
We eating good. So I'm probably, if she wants to stay at home, I'm going to throw down with some breakfast, probably just do some waffles and my omelet. And some, you know.
That's right.
Oh, we hit it up with that fried potato, sausage, eggs, scramble.
That's right. You cook, Chris?
Yeah, that's what's up.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm the one taught my wife how to cook.
There you go. There you go. That's right.
She's a great cook, though. Except she has learned how to do the sourdough, which is amazing. I'm so happy for it.
Oh, sourdough bread?
And she's good at it. Yes, she is good at it.
Nice.
We should have a shout out for all the mothers in the world. Absolutely. Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Absolutely.
And specifically, shout out to my wife, mother of my children.
Yes,
baby.
Shout out to my baby as well.
Appreciate you.
That's right. Love you too, mama. Love you too. Okay, cool beans. All right. This year's topic is the origins of Africa, a subject that is not only historical, but deeply powerful, passionate, and alive with meaning. Africa is widely recognized as the cradle of humanity, the birthplace of Homo sapiens, where all modern human life began. Every person walking this earth today can trace their lineage back to this continent, supported by overwhelming genetic, fossil, and archaeological evidence. This is not just history. This is origin. This is identity. The truth is that is at the deepest level. And because of that, the conversation carries weight. It carries energy. It may challenge perspectives, ignite passion, and even spark debate, but that is where growth lies. We approach this topic with respect, with curiosity, and with the understanding that knowledge of origin is knowledge of self. So today, we open the door to a discussion that is as enlightening as it is powerful, because to understand where you come from, it is better to understand who you are. So, words of inspiration. Here we go. An enlightened life is not built by avoiding struggle, but by seeing through it, understanding that every trial can refine your mind, deepen your character, and reveal your purpose. True success is not merely what you gain in the world, but what you awaken within yourself. Clarity, discipline, compassion, and inner peace. When you learn to govern your thoughts, honor your values, and walk with intention, life stops being something you endure and becomes something you consciously, meaningfully, and beautifully create each day. I freaking love that, man.
Good, man. That's good, brother.
Okay. This is going to be our new book here. A new book here, African Glory. African Glory. By Mr. J.C. deGraff Johnson. Just give a little bit of insight into the author. Born John Coleman deGraff Johnson in Ghana, was an African historian, economist, and scholar best known for African Glory, the story of vanished Negro civilizations. First published in 1954, the book challenged racist and Eurocentric interpretations of African history by presenting Africa's ancient civilizations as sophisticated, influential, and worthy of serious study. Educated in West Africa and Britain, deGraff Johnson brought both scholarly training and cultural understanding to his work. His writing helped restore pride in African heritage, emphasizing that African history did not begin with slavery or colonization, but with a powerful civilization's knowledge, leadership, resistance, and collective achievement. I think the book, right off the bat, is quite powerful. Quite powerful.
Oh man, yes. I really like how he opens up in the first couple pages.
Yes. Right off the bat, you know that. So this, where right now we have an open discussions. It's we're going to go through. We read the topics or the chapters were the introductions and chapters 1 and 2. So we'll go through and whatever resonated with each of us, have open discussions on that and see where it leads us. But I think the first few pages are quite powerful. You know, he comes hard right off the bat into what I just read about him. He holds no punches, and it challenges a lot of things. Now, this book was written in 1954. Written in 1954. And so the right off the bat, the preface, let's see, that first, the second and third paragraph there. And so as you go along too, you can read stuff from the book as well, you know, to get your point across too as well. However you want to do it, Kings. And so paragraphs 2 and 3, I don't want to read all of that. See the eruption of sin, that third paragraph. So the thesis that Africa is what Western European missionaries, traders, technicians, and administrators have made, it is comforting to Western Europeans, but invalid. The eruption of Western European colonizers into Africa, with all the effects of their religion and their schools, their gin and their guns, their cotton goods, and their system of administration, was only an event through a very important event in the history of African peoples. And so going down to that, the next paragraph. If therefore we wish to understand the national movements that have emerged in Africa, we have reached their most mature and advanced stage in West Africa. We have to begin by trying to rid our minds of European preconceptions that influence our thinking on this subject. This is not easy, since most of the available material on African affairs is presented from a European standpoint, either by imperial historians who are interested in their record of European penetration into Africa, or by colonial administrators who are interested in the pattern of institution imposed by European governments upon African societies, or by anthropologists who are often, though not always, mainly interested in the forms of social organization surviving in the simplest African communities, considered in isolation from political developments in the world around them. We shall probably have to wait a while for the real history of Africa to be written by African scholars for an African reading public. So right off the bat, he comes with it. And that is, how the narrative is applied to today. Not just, it is ingrained philosophically, religiously, the ideology, from the very foundation to create that narrative that Africa was not much of anything but indigenous people and savages, if you will, as they like to call them.
Yeah, man. Like right in the pages in the introduction, pages 1 through 5. He goes in and talks about that not all Black or Negro people originated from Africa, that there's evidence of them outside of Africa, distributed in all parts of the world, including Europe, not just secluded just to Africa alone. I thought that was very interesting. He pushes it back against the theories that most Black people, strangers, or latecomers to Africa. They were definitely there. I mean, as we've discussed in the earlier books, much, much older than we know, there was thriving kingdoms in Africa.
Yep. So I'll go on to page 1, the introduction, and the third paragraph there, and I think this is so true, and trying to find out the original home of any one branch of the human family, we shall avoid many pitfalls if we recall the words of H.G. Wells. I'm going to read this little excerpt here. We have to remember that human races can all interbreed freely and that they separate, mingle, and reunite as clouds do. Human races do not branch out like trees with branches that never come together again. It is a thing we need to bear constantly in mind, this intermingling of races at any opportunity. It will save us from many cruel seclusions and prejudice. If we do so, people would use such a word as race in the loosest manner and base that most pretentious generalization upon it. They would speak of a British race or of a European race, but nearly all the European nations are confused mixtures of brownish, dark white, and Mongolian elements.
I love that.
That's powerful, man. Again, this is written in 1954, and the knowledge that they were artists, challenging these narratives that were trying to be put out there.
I mean, we're all human.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're all human.
Yeah. So I got two things I want to bring up on this page. I want to go back up the page here. I guess it's the second paragraph where it says evolutionary areas of the Negro species of Homo sapiens is unknown to us at the present time. So obviously when he wrote this book, that was unknown to him, but there have been several discoveries of African or Homo sapien skulls in Africa, contributing back to almost 2 to 3 million years.
Yes.
I want to go through a couple of them. We have Jebel, Jebel, Ihard, Irhoud, is approximately 300,000 and 315,000 years old. Was found in Morocco. Also, too, we have the Omad, which is 230,000 years old. That was found in Ethiopia. And then we have Herto, was also found in Ethiopia, which is 160,000 years old. Now, what I knew of was Lucy. I heard of Lucy. Lucy is not considered a Homo sapien, but it is the oldest skull that was also found in Africa, which is estimated to be 3.2 million years old. I thought that was pretty significant right there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And then, too, when it brings up they speak of a British race of race or of a European race, but nearly all the European nations are confused mixtures of brownish and dark white and Mongolian elements. So if you go back, so we really don't learn this in school.
No.
But Eastern Europe was dominated through the 1200 period by Mongolians. They dominated Eastern Europe. Matter of fact, they took out Eastern Europe because, the Mongolians were big about taking over the population. They just didn't want to just enslave you. It really wasn't about this enslavement. It was about killing people. And so that was a huge factor for Eastern Europe at that time, and a huge downfall for Eastern Europe. But you know, when they talk about the ignorance of Africa, it's not just ignorance of Africa, it's ignorance of all people at a particular time period. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
Right.
even during that time, the Mongolians stated the reason why they were able to conquer Eastern Europe was due to their ignorance, you know, their lack of intelligence. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, you know, I want people to take that in consideration, okay? Because when something is new, right, you will go through a period of ignorance until you take advantage of the things that you've been through and advance yourself into knowledge. Yeah. So I just want to bring that up, that Europe was conquered, and they're not even conquered, they say, but basically destroyed by the Mongols through about 1200, the period of 1200.
Yeah, and there's evidence of Africans in Europe from dating way back then. Much farther down in the time period than previously thought.
Yeah, even the Moors. I mean, the Moors, if you don't know about the Moors were a dominance to Europe. Matter of fact, I mean, they contributed so much. You know, when I hear some Afrocentric people speaking, and they're like, "What are you guys talking about? We basically help Europeans bring to where they are to this day, because they were dying in Europe around that time frame. The Black Plague was huge at that time. And they were dealing with that. And the Moors came with medicine and herbs to heal Europe and bring it to what it is to this day.
Yeah. Hey, they brought them out of the Dark Ages. They
did.
They civilized them, as they so like to say they did to us, you know. And so
Right. Yeah, the narrative is almost backwards. They don't want to
it is. It is. And we about to get all up into that. It is so wild, man. So wild.
We all have the same roots.
Yes. We're going to go move on to page 2.
But that's the claim, though, is that most European people don't accept those roots.
That's right.
You know, and I think that's what the downfall is. Once we realize, like Christopher, that's my brother. We understand this. But 90 to 80% of the world, or United States, I would say, does not.
They refuse to.
They refuse to.
Whatever is considered, and I'm sorry, whichever is considered part of the Western ideology, those countries and states, they cannot accept that. And it is, again, fascinating.
That's because history and public schools are taught with a certain narrative.
Sure.
Oh gosh, let's wait till we get on that. But go ahead.
Okay. We are on page 2, and so here's where it gets real good. And so he speaks of Professor M.D.W. Jeffries, who wrote an article titled "The Negro Enigma," published in September 1957 in the West African Review. And so here is the narrative, you know, as how it is displayed, you know, from a European standpoint. I'm not going to read the whole thing.
That was 1951.
Yes, you're right. 1951, September 1951. Thank you. So just in that the middle paragraph there. So in this great are the position of the Negro is the enigma. At the two ends are horns are the people who are Negroes, but in the center there are none. This is speaking of Africa. The center is occupied by a dark-skinned race, the Hindu, but he offers no difficulty. He belongs to the same race as the European, namely the Caucasians, which is divided into light-skinned Caucasians and inhabitants of Europe, and the dark-skinned Caucasians, the inhabitants of North Africa, Asia Minor, and India. So, dark-skinned Caucasians, is that such a thing?
I mean, when I go out in the sunlight, and I do that every day, my skin gets dark.
Is that what you call it, tan? Okay. And so, go ahead.
Well, you know, I think I want to go back. I want to state that I'm thinking what he's stating is even through the Caucasus Mountains, right, is what we've always heard where the Caucasians came from. So I'm thinking he's expressing that being the dark-skinned Caucasians because they were dark-skinned supposedly before they went to the Caucasus Mountains.
Gotcha.
And then coming out the Caucasus Mountains, supposedly their pigment had changed. You know, so I'm thinking before, you know, they went to the Caucasus Mountains, right? He might be kind of narrating the fact that before they went there, they were considered dark skinned, and then maybe coming out, they were considered light skinned. But then when they came out, before they went, even through the pygmy people, they went to the Asia Minor in India during the Exodus period to expand upon the religion and spiritualities of Egypt itself.
Gotcha.
I mean, yeah, that still says that Caucasians has their roots with Africa. And also, I mean, the way it was worded in the book, I thought maybe he was talking, when he said dark-skinned Caucasians, that he was talking about the Indian people that have the really dark skin from India.
Quite possible.
Yeah,
quite possible.
Yeah, it's a possibility too. Yeah.
Quite possible.
Yeah. Okay.
He talks about Asia Minor and India at the end of the insert. But yeah, I mean, that's what a lot of people think, that when they went to the mountains in the cold environment without much sunlight, changed their pigmentation.
Yeah. And then on Jeffries, I kind of want to bring up a little background on him because he's prominent in this book as well too. If you guys don't mind.
Go ahead, brother.
Professor Jeffries, 1890-1975, professor, anthropologist, and ethnologist, conducted extensive research in Nigeria and Cameroon, published on African religion, migration, and cultural origins. Jeffries focused more on indigenous traditions, oral history, and the internal development of African culture. He often argued that Africa's civilization possessed greater iniquity and that many traditions had roots within Africa itself rather than being explained solely by outside influence. His strengths were pay close attention to oral tradition and belief systems, took African institutions seriously as subjects of scholar and study, and explored long-term cultural continuity. I just wanted to bring that up. His point of thought is different than Sir Harry H. Johnston. Harry. So, but when we get to that, I bring him up too as well.
No.
So I'm going down to that. Still on page 2, that last part there, and this has to do with Professor Jeffries as well, in connection with Haru was talking about. So he goes that you were talking about the skulls, and so the Swanscombe skull found in Great Britain is dated 250,000 years and is our stock, not Negro. The skeletal remains dug up by the Leakeys in East Africa are us, not Negro. Boscott man found in the Cape is dated 50,000 years and falls into our group, not of the Negro. There are no Negro skulls of any antiquity. The oldest known is about 6,000 BC. The 2 Grimaldi skulls, one of a woman and the other of a boy, are not Negro skulls. They merely show Negro features. And so so there's also, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, it's the Peltdown Man. Now, the Peltdown Man was found in 1912. He was found in Europe, and so based off that, they thought that he was considered the missing link, and that is the bridge between the ape and the human beings. And so, based on that, they thought that that they Europeans, if you will, that's where the cradle of humanity was started, right there, because they found that what they considered to be the missing link, and that stood for 41 years. However, in 1953, that was exposed as a hoax. It was not of a human. The bones were not human. There was, I believe, the head was an ape of an orangutan, and different bones of different parts of the body. So that theory was absolutely crushed. So that killed that theory. Just to add a little bit of insight into that when he's mentioning the skulls that are found in what Haru had read earlier.
Yeah, and something plays a role too. Is like there is really no history of the Europeans. We don't know the true history of European people.
They just kind of pop out of nowhere.
And they do. They kind of pop out of nowhere.
But you hear the very last sentence in that page 2, they merely show some Negro features.
Right.
Well, they're saying they're not Negro skulls.
right.
But if they're showing Negro features, that means their origins still come from.
That's right.
Negro.
Right. I mean,
that's
right.
You're dead on. And so listen, back then too as well, when they went on these archaeological sites and digs and excavations, and so when they, gave their description of these skulls and bones and whatnot and of the scene. So when they, they wrote down what they had and they would publish papers in these royal societies as they were back then. And so, if it came to where what we just read, that last sentence, Negro infinity, the features, those papers were given back. They had to go back and rewrite those pages. They had no choice. And so take this into consideration too. Back then in Europe, it was rough living, so to decide whether you're going to go back and rewrite this paper or get kicked out of the society and have you and your family on the streets was a hell of an option. So they will go back and rewrite the narrative on all of that things to fit their narrative. And that is so true.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hearing folk. So go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
No. Well, I was going to bring up. So we got Sir Harry H. Johnston coming up. And so I want to give you a little background about who he is. Okay. So in 1858 to 1927, background. British explorer, linguist, botanist, and colonial administrator, deeply involved into the European scramble for Africa, served in territories such as present-day Uganda. Author, A History of the Colonization of Africa by Alien Races. Wow. Main view of Africa, Johnson believed Africa had a long and rich history, but he often interpreted through a colonial and racial framework common among European scholars of his time. He studied African languages and cultures seriously, yet still supported British imperial expansion.
Yes.
So that is Mr. Johnston.
Yes.
Right on.
And just brief, I'm gonna go back to just on number 3, on page 3, just to add to Mr. Jeffries, Dr. Lothrop Stoddard, who also believed of the same mindset of Mr. Jeffries, and then that third paragraph and just that last sentence, the abounding vitality shows in many ways, such as the Negro's ability to survive harsh conditions of slavery, under which other races have soon succumbed. Lastly, in ethnic crossings, the Negro strikingly displays his propensity for black blood once entering a human stock seems never really to breed out again. Once the interbreeding begins with black, it's a done deal.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's a done deal.
I mean, if we weren't the same species, we wouldn't be able to interbreed. I mean, because we're like you said, we're like clouds.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, sir.
That's right. So to what Haru was talking about, Mr. Sir Harry H. Johnston. So he's the other side. He's the other side of the narrative. He challenges the Professor Jeffries and Dr. Stoddard and what they are saying. And so on page 4, you got the that middle paragraph there. And so he basically, is going against or giving facts on the opposite angle of the other two professors. So there are certain anatomical differences between the existing Negroes of Asia and Oceania on the one hand, and the Negroes of modern Africa on the other. Whether the African Negro was the first colonizer of Africa or was preceded by more brutish or more generalized types such as the Galley man is not known to us. But from a little we possess in the way of fossil human remains and other evidence, it seems probable that every region of Africa, even Algeria and Egypt, once possessed a Negro population.
Yes.
All of it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, beautiful, bro. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Okay. I don't have anything on page 4. Christopher, you got anything on 4?
I mean, the biggest thing on page 4 that was interesting to me is that they found presence of ancient Africans in parts of Europe. And that's not really widely spoken a lot. I mean, I never learned.
And even the Mongolian, I mean, I think that even how they bring it up at the bottom, I've never read most books and brought up, the Caucasian and the Mongolian, battles or anything like that. I've never heard. I had actually looked that up because I have never heard that before.
I mean, the problem with history is they're just trying to separate Caucasians from their roots. I mean, Caucasians are Africans, and
Right.
that's the Eurocentric point of view that we've been taught in school.
True.
And that might have its roots. The Eurocentric model might have its roots in Christianity.
Right.
Right.
I mean, because Christianity kind of got their power in Europe, and it was all about control. And if they can keep the history going around the Eurocentric model, it would keep the religion strong as well.
Yeah. And I think European concept has really just done its best to steal from everybody else and to try to identify themselves. To know thyself, there's a lack in that understanding because, here we are as Black people in this Western world to be known as we don't know ourselves because,
True.
we think that we've actually come from boats and Atlantic slave trade and we, brought to America when we were already here in America. We was here in this great continent or this great world for millions and millions of years. So in order to enslave the people, you got to actually take away their identity. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I feel like that's clearly what they've tried to do and hide their identity or put their identity in imposing of us to make themselves look better than us.
Well, it even goes to it goes to prove the fact even more that there was ancient kingdoms in Africa because we have the presence of Africans all over the world in ancient times. The only way for that to happen is that, and if everyone still agrees that the human race still originates from Africa, that means African would have to have amazing and advanced civilizations for them to be able to travel the world,
right?
To have their presence there.
Well, let me ask this question: how is it possible that Africans got all over the world? How was that possible back in antiquity?
They would have to have. I mean, because they had kingdoms. They were thriving.
Mm-hmm.
They were wealthy. They weren't poor and slaves. They were thriving kingdoms in Africa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there were several great migrations in the very beginning, which they spread all throughout the world at that time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we start looking, even when Albert Churchward starts looking into the hieroglyphs and the structures of other cultures around the world. I mean, it is clearly to show that the exodus of people from Egypt made a huge influence on this entire world itself, because there's a lot of similarities in the temples built. I mean, even in Mexico, a lot of similarities as Egypt in Mexico.
Yeah.
Or South America itself,
So true. So moving on to page 5. That first paragraph there from Sir Harry H. Johnson. Those who postulate theories with the object of removing all Negro traces from Europe and from the Mediterranean do so with the avowed object of establishing a pseudo-scientifically as possible the alleged inherent and perpetual supremacy of the Nordic race. Yet the dawn of civilization in the Mediterranean basin, in the valleys of the Nile and Euphrates, H.G. Wells records 3 main regions and 3 main kinds of wandering and imperfectly set of people there were in those remote days of the first civilizations of Sumeria and early Egypt, which was those migrations as we just spoke of in the very beginning. They separated and they moved on. And so that third paragraph, he speaks of Sir Charles Darwin. He is the great grandson of the. Go ahead.
I often say the author of confusion.
The author of confusion. That's right.
Yep.
This is his grandson here who wrote the book, The Next Million Years. And I thought that this was a real good right here, man. So what he wrote. Repeatedly states that there is no scientific evidence of any difference of ability between the races. So Charles further states that the average skin color of the human race will get darker, and furthermore, that in economic and military power, Africa and Asia will wrest their leadership from Europe. C.P. Snow, commenting on Sir Charles's findings and forecast, writes, "It means, incidentally, that the racial discrimination, which has been the least credible feature of the period of white homogeny, is not only wicked, it is worse than wicked. It is criminally foolish."
Yep. Yep.
I mean, he's right. I mean, if you think about it right now in today's terms, we have 8 billion, a little more than 8 billion people on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
If you zoom out and separate those into light skinned and dark skinned people, the light skinned people would be the minority of the planet.
True.
Yeah. Biden was talking about that when he was in office, and I've heard that. I do law enforcement here. I've heard that in some law enforcement classes. I don't know how it's come up particularly, in the conversation, but it was mentioned, but a lot of laws are written in the thought process of our society and how society moves. You know what I mean? It's kind of race based, basically. Yeah, but I've heard how the Europeans are declining in the Western world, and how important it is. Matter of fact, even in 1933 or 1930s, the Cabbage Patch doll came out, and that was to influence European people to, increase the fertility rate, by having more children. I think Africa is the only continent now that has a very youthful growth period. The average age being of 19 years old.
Yeah, people ain't having kids in America.
No, they're not.
And also in other countries. I mean, America is not the only one.
That is true. That is true.
But I mean, there is a problem. Like people are real current our current kids are kind of selfish. They don't really want to have kids. I know a lot of people I graduated with didn't have kids.
Yeah, I think that's the propaganda. I mean, even, my wife and I, we go shopping. Right. Yeah, when we go shopping and you hear about seedless fruit, I mean, just the cycle, just the mental process of thinking of something being seedless. You know what I mean? And when you ask Google or you ask Chat, hey, why are they doing seedless now? You know what Chat said? He basically stated that people got tired of eating seeds. I mean, people be eating seeds for millions of years, and all of a sudden we're tired now in the last 30 years. I mean, wow.
Well, what else is popular too? You see it all the time on the internet. TRT for guys.
Yeah.
Younger and younger, and they're advertising it to younger and younger guys. And yeah, cool. If your testosterone's low, it'd be great for you to get out some TRT. You'll feel better. But at the same time, you're taking away your fertility.
But they don't understand that. They don't understand that.
No. I mean, it provides a temporary symptoms of what low T has, but then it's taking away your youth and it's taking away your fertility. Well, I don't think a lot of guys understand that.
They don't. And so, especially if you're trying to gym and what it changes you physically, you forget all that stuff. And so, and that ties in, when Haru mentions about the population in Africa and what we're talking about, to that last part I just read of how with Africa is on the rise and everyone else is subsiding, if you will. And this book was written many moons ago. I don't know when the next many years was written, but this is pretty damn accurate, for what's happening now in these times.
I mean, they're using pleasure and vanity to sell you a product.
And people eat it up, bro. Eat it up.
It's going to make you feel good. It's going to make you grow muscle. It's going to make you perform better in the bedroom, blah, 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 blah. But then they don't tell you everything else.
That's right. Temptation is tough, Kings.
If you want that testosterone, you got to go out there and earn it. Testosterone is earned. It's not something for you to just inject, man.
That's right.
That's a lot of guys forget. I mean, that TRT's a pill. That's what that is.
When you throw anything sexual in there, we know how powerful that
sells.
Is. A young buck coming in, you know what I'm getting at. It's like you throw that thing in there, come on, ain't thinking about nothing else too, and you get if you make it to 40 or 50, and then you having situations and complications with that part of it. But I'm in agreement with you. Anybody have anything on page 6?
Page 6. Let me see.
Just about more of the origins of African people found in Europe, India, and North Africa, and the African Great Lakes.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that's cool. I mean, I never knew that. I thought Africans was solely found in Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're everywhere. I mean, Australia. I mean, everywhere. I mean, even I've seen something the other day. I was on Netflix and the documentary on black people, the original black Chinese people. you know, that you never know of. You know, the original black people, Spanish people in Mexico. I talked to a brother of mine, just a random guy, and he started telling me about how he bought a condo in South America, and he was like, bro, I'm at the bottom, but he's like, hey, it is no, he was light skinned, so he was like, it's all people that look just like you there. I said, for real? He's like, yeah, and it's Spanish speaking. Like this is where they're from, and they've been here for thousands of years.
Makes you think maybe the Caucasians, the light skin was just in the past where they got separated, maybe during the Ice Age, and then there was such a huge change because they were separated from the sun for so long. You know, and then they slowly started, you know, the Ice Age ended and they started integrating back into society with the rest of the world.
Right.
Now fast forward to today.
Right.
So you know what, and to add to that, to what you just said on page, let's go back to page 5 real quick, and that little bit that I read. In the way of forest of Europe were the blind Nordic peoples, hunters and herdsmen, a lowly race. The primitive civilization saw very little of this race before 1500 BC, to what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
as far as the Nordic race, you know, and I've heard that, you know, that somewhere along those lines, 1,000 years, or even sooner than that, that the Caucasian race came into appearance. In the chat here, Amanda wrote about children. Having children now is no longer a family decision; it's a financial decision. What do you guys think about that?
Say that again.
Having children now is no longer a family decision; it's a financial decision in these days.
I mean, in my opinion, if you want a kid, you're going to find a way to make it happen. I mean, you can do all the planning you want and think you're financially, but finances could go up or down at any time in life, no matter where you're at in life. But if you have a kid and you're responsible enough, you're always going to find a way to support that kid.
Yeah, I think she's right. When you look into history, it's always been like that. You know what I mean? You think about our great-great-grandfathers who had 15, 16 kids. Why did they have those kids?
That's
because
right.
they could work on the land together. They can work in the kitchen. They could, I mean, you were building on a particular kingdom. You know what I mean? And even when you go back into, you know, the 18 and 1600s, you look at common law, you know, even common law with a father, it was a little bit different with child support, you know, and I say there really wasn't child support, but you were able as a father, if you sent your son to go work at Christopher's house to help build a fence for Chris's family, you were entitled to your son's wages, right? You know what I mean? And so, I mean, I think it's always been about finances when it came down to having kids. You know what I mean? I think we've gotten out of that. You know what I mean? It's more about family now than it is finances, or the love of a family, because we are a little bit more financially stable, you know, as a country than we were, you know, in the older days, I would say so, you know.
A lot more opportunity.
There's more abundance around us.
My mom had 18 brothers and sisters.
Yes.
You know, big family. Big family. And so, as you mentioned before, too, propaganda plays a huge role in thought process as far as going forward.
Right.
You talk about things financial, let alone if you look up what it costs to raise one kid, you look at that number and it's like, dang, let alone if you have 3, 4, 5, 6, it's like, I don't want to do all that.
Yes,
you know,
I mean, a lot of people don't want to make the sacrifice. I mean, you had to have it come to the kid. That means you may not be able to go to that 2-week vacation in the Bahamas.
That's right.
Yes, I mean that's financially yes, but I mean, I'd rather have a kid.
You know,
I'm with you.
I sent my son something. It was a statistic on having kids. His first child will be born here in September. He's 25 years old, and they stated that between the ages of 0 to 18, you're going to roughly spend between $300,000 and $350,000 per child. I told my son, you better get ready. You better get ready.
Hey, and it's real. It's real. I mean, however, I'm in agreement with Chris. If you willing to make that sacrifice, you know, and because there's nothing to compare once that little baboosh comes out there and you get to hold it and see it, man. It's like, hey, it's all over it. We'll run on water for anything for that, baby.
The government pays you now for it. You got taxes. You can put your child on your taxes. I mean, so
yeah,
you know,
yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Anybody have anything for page 7?
So I have at the top Professor Segman. How would you say that? Segman?
Sigelman.
Singelman. Charles Gabriel Singelman, 1873 to 1940, was a British anthropologist whose writings of Africa were highly influenced in the early 20th century. He is best known for his work as Race of Africa, first published in 1930, which it seemed like him and Johnston, because Johnson was big on the publication of Race to Africa. But anyway, the Race of Africa, Segment's attempt to classify African population, explain the development of African civilization. He acknowledged that Africa contained sophisticated societies and ancient cultures, but he interpreted them through racial theories that are now considered outdated and scientifically unsupported. So his thought was that it was the Hermetic hypothesis, which argued that many major advances in sub-Saharan Africa were introduced by so-called Hamites, whom he associated with people from northeast Africa and in some formations closer to Europeans. This theory has been thoroughly rejected by modern anthropologists and through genetics. So that's just a little bit about his thought process. I mean, it's a little outdated, but I mean, if he played a major role or he was a major influence in the 20th century, that's something to think about. That's something to think about.
And I'll add to that on that small paragraph there on page 7. Even if the Egyptians have Negro blood in their veins, then it is safe to assume that a study of the history of any part of the African continent is also a study of Negro history.
True.
Yeah, there's plenty of evidence to back now that is where everyone came from. That's where the Africans came from. That was the home. And Egypt is one of the oldest civilizations we have.
True. Lasted a long time.
And their Egyptian origins came from African.
Absolutely. You don't see that in the movies, but you're dead on.
No, you don't. No.
I mean, it's true.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Because I never would have thought, until reading this, that that's not the what I thought, Egyptians were. However, reading is absolutely not the truth. That's what is portrayed on that big screen.
Right. No. That's why the confusion. This is where confusion starts.
And something I'm looking at. I don't got a whole lot of information on it right now, but I think there's a huge link between Vikings and Africans. You got the ancient Nordic Viking race, and you look at their runes and their symbology, their hairstyles, and you compare it to ancient Africa, their hairstyles, their symbols, and also in Egypt. I mean, some of it's very similar, with Odin and all the gods and whatnot. I mean,
now there is a theory that that's where Marvel and where they got those superheroes from is from ancient Egypt and Africa and all that. That's where all that came from.
But you can't get on TV now and pose all superheroes as black people. That's just no way it's going to happen.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even Black Panther. When you look at Black Panther, I read an article about Disney, and Disney was going through some financial issues before Black Panther came out. And when Black Panther came out, it was able to reestablish itself financially because Black Panther set records of profits. Because
the first Black Panther movie was awesome.
Yeah, it inspired black people to go out and see it because basically it was kind of his first superhero of modern times.
And I'll take that. So, before all this, because I always thought it would always pop into my mind every once in a while that how is it that there's with all the races that all the superheroes are Caucasian? How is that possible? Even when they're coming from other galaxies, they're all Caucasian. How's that possible? They all look handsome and everything. Their faces ain't no, you know what I mean? They're all, except for Martian. He looks like a Martian. But outside of that, they're all Caucasian. Like, how is that even possible? But to everything that we talk about, and as we go along, things start to come out and begin to question those things and whatnot along those lines. Very good.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, bro. I'm done.
I had seen something. I guess I didn't highlight it, but they had mentioned something in here, and I believe it was chapter in. I'll wait because they talk about. I'll wait because they talk about the tools. Somebody had mentioned that the Egyptians or Africans really didn't have prominent tools, or um, and I remember reading about Churchward speaking that the Pygmy people, which were one of the some of the very first people of Africa, how they had tools and how they had implements to use for knives and for structures of that sort. So I don't think we got a chance to read everything. I didn't highlight it, but I just want to make that point that Churchward's view on Pygmies is that the Pygmies um, had ancient implements, which indicates that Churchward discussed tools and artifacts associated with early people during the Pygmy period. He does have a couple of books, The Signs and Symbols of Premortal Man. Churchward wrote that he traced signs and symbols from the first Pygmy people, presenting them as a foundation to early human culture and religion. I just want to put that out there that they did have tools during the early period of ancient Africa itself.
Okay.
Because when they talk about
Yep.
civilization, they don't. When they talk about sophistication at that time period, it's not necessarily about universities, but it's about tools. And if you weren't able to make tools, you weren't considered sophisticated. You know,
And that wasn't part of when the Pygmies, and wasn't also part of ancient Uganda. Some of the prime people that was part of establishing Egypt.
Yes, yes, sir.
And Uganda was pretty advanced. I mean, they had tools and whatnot as well.
They did.
All right, moving on to the first chapter here, the beginning of North African history. And this not basically, but goes into Egyptian history, which we have covered a lot of already. Still very interesting and whatnot. Anybody have anything on pages 8 or 9?
I mean, the biggest thing for me on page 8 is just letting us know that Egypt has its origins from Africa, and the African people.
Yeah, and then too, compared to what we see things now, death is a bad thing in the Western world. You know what I mean? And how Egyptians and Africans never looked at death as being a bad thing. It was really just the beginning. So I want to make that a valuable point.
And I'll just read that little excerpt there on page 9 at the very beginning. There is no evidence that the Egyptians of the New Stone Age had invented the art of writing, but there is abundant proof that they could draw pictures of the symbols of their totems and sacred animals and objects. These symbols are found painted on pots at Nakada and are supported on standards fixed in the prehistoric boats. Many of them reappear in the names of gods in the historic period, and they form the oldest Egyptian hieroglyphs known. They are very important as showing that the earliest attempts to write in Egypt were made by the native African Egyptians. So there were, I thought that was very powerful. And, when we were reading, so there were the people before the dynastic Egyptians were African Egypt, native. I didn't know that they had that name, if you will. I thought, we read pygmies and then how they evolved, but there were the native African Egyptians before they became a dynasty.
Right. Yes, sir.
You got to think it too, just on a deeper level. When I think about Egypt and their culture and how they lived life, like I feel like the Egyptians enjoyed life more than we do. And when you think about they built these grand things, they had this awesome language, they're great artists, very symbolic. I mean, I feel like they enjoyed life better than we do. They weren't as controlled or oppressed the way we are.
What
do you think?
I think it's a cultural thing.
Or I'm just like fantasizing things in my head.
Yeah. I know I'm with you on that. You know what I mean? I think it's a cultural thing. When you look into I guess black people versus white people in a sense of the Western world, and I'm not saying versus, but in comparison, black people are less suicidal. The white male is more suicidal than the black male is, and psychiatrists ask themselves why. How is that possible when the white male carries more wealth in the society than the black male does? Because it is and you must ask that question. How is that possible, and why is that happening? You know what I mean? You think about Black people to today, when you think about the world economy or the United States economy itself, Black people contribute $800 billion into the GDP of the economics of the United States. That is massive. That is huge. But there's no wealth in that. It's spending, but there's no wealth in it. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, when you talk about how the Egyptians, I think it's a cultural thing. I think Black people really just kind of have an I don't care, I love it, I don't care, I'm gonna live life, and then when I die, I'm gonna continue to live. When in culture, it might not be like that for every culture here in the Western world. You see what I'm saying? You're held to maybe the term, maybe it's held to a higher standard. I don't know. You have to follow a certain lineage, or wealth gap. I don't know just yet, but I do know that based upon the Western world, white males have a higher suicide rate than any other males in this Western world.
No, you're right about that.
Very interesting.
I mean, most of the things built here, everything built here is for profit.
That is so true. Yeah, and so that's what I'm thinking. Where
so there's no meaning behind it.
There's no
meaning behind building a giant building skyscraper.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. You're so true. That is so true.
Very true. What about page 9? Anybody take anything from there?
Page 9. No, we had talked a lot about that already.
We did.
So I didn't go too much in depth into that one.
Okay.
Page 9 at least.
Yeah, that was just letting us know about the ancient that they came from farther south, the Egyptians.
What about pages 10 and 11?
Kind of the same thing. We went into Khufu, in a previous book we read, and about him building the largest 3 pyramids in Giza, which he built nearly 480 feet high when he finished. He had a square base of nearly 760 feet on each side, covering an area of roughly 14 acres and contained 5,750 tons of stone. I thought that was, even though we read that before, but I enjoy hearing that.
Yeah, page 11 just touched, which we talked about in the last book about the Hyksos people invading Egypt and causing drastic changes.
Yeah, we covered a lot of this, and I will say this: that part down there on page 10.
Read it. I was gonna read it.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, that I thought that it caught my eye. So Usersen the Third was the 5th ruler of the 12th dynasty of Egypt. He ruled on the throne for 38 years. So he has a part down here. So he made it necessary, or he thought it was necessary to invade Nubia, which is on the other side of the cataract. I believe the second cataract. And so, and as we know, reading through Nubia, they were rich with gold and resources and things like that. And so he made it a point to go down there and to invade them. So he built a stele to signify, or to leave, if you will, a message of how he viewed and how he conquered. And so I'm going to read this here. He says, "I am king. My word is performed. My hand performs what my mind conceives. I attack my attacker. The man who retreats is a vile coward. He who is defeated in his own land is no man. Thus is the black. He falls down at the word of command. When attacked, he runs away. When pursued, he shows his back in flight. The blacks have no courage. They are weak and timid. Their hearts are contemptible. I have seen them. I am not mistaken about them. I seized their women. I took their goods. I stopped up their wells. I slew their bulls. I reaped their crops. I burnt their houses. I am speaking the truth. My son who maintains this boundary is indeed my son, and he who allows it to be thrust back is no son of mine, and I never begot him. I have set up a statue of myself here, not only for your benefit, but also that ye should do battle for it." And then just that little bit of word, that next paragraph. Sir Ernest A. Wallace Budd states that the brutal treatment of the Nubians by the king suggests that he had other than Egyptian blood in him. This is indeed the case. For marriage with types outside the national boundaries, such a common feature with royal families has so changed the blood of the dynastic family as to render it no longer Egyptian. So he was very upset that he had Negro blood in him.
Wasn't he the guy that lied about when he went to battle and he beat everybody by himself? He came back and right. It was from the last.
I believe so.
And he made that huge story.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so.
Yeah.
That's when the High Coast was they were trying to expel them out of Egypt. And then basically everyone died and he was just the last survival of that battle.
Yeah.
Right.
And came back and said he did it all himself and they made that statue.
Yes. Yes.
So what I got from this, y'all, I just had I thought about Stone Mountain. Y'all have been to Stone Mountain? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
So Stone Mountain is it's in Georgia, right? On the side of the Stone Mountain, there's a Confederate memorial carving of Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and Stonewall Jackson. It was carved in 1923. But I thought about that too, because this was created by something called the United Daughters of the Confederacy. Okay. And they are United Daughters Confederacy were strongly supported the project. They saw it as a monument of Confederate leadership and Southern heritage. So what they were trying to do in some sense was trying to make the South look better than what it was during a particular period of war. Okay. It says some of the artists who later designed Mount Rushmore. Anyway, it was Robert E. Lee, Confederate general, Jefferson Davis, Confederate president, and Stonewall Jackson, Confederate general. United Daughters of the Confederacy, UDC, is a woman's heritage organized found in the United States in the 19th century. It was created to honor Confederate soldiers and preserve the memory of the Confederate after the American Civil War. So, and this was basically thought of during the Jim Crow period. Okay, during the southern states were reshaping political memory. They were trying to reshape the political memory of the Civil War. So by putting faces up there on the mountainside made me think about the same thing that this particular king did at that time, just to show that, weakness, or just to show we conquered. You know what I mean? So I kind of thought that just the fact that it was created by, the Southern Confederacy. Matter of fact, they are heavily involved in our school books too, just in case you guys didn't know. They are heavily involved in Southern school books, promoted the last cause interpretation of the Civil War, influenced how generations of students learned about Confederacy and slavery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, it's amazing still how they have that. Anybody has that much power to still try to change the narrative on history to such a degree. It's amazing. So the rest of this chapter and chapter 2, really goes into depth about the Egyptian dynasties. In chapter 2 is Carthage, which we explored very much deeply into the 3 Punic Wars and how, Hannibal and how he stood for Carthage and
how awesome Hannibal was too.
How awesome Hannibal was and how fearful Rome was of him. And at one time, I will say this, and I didn't know this because it wasn't said in the other book, that at one time before they became enemies, they were friends, Carthage and Rome. They were friends, and they were, almost founded at the same time until, of course, wars start to break out. But I'm going to treaty with that, this treaty with this one. And, greed comes in. Well, we're going to go defend them. And so they came into conflict, and eventually, Hannibal came, as we just spoke of. Bad A dude for sure. Put fear in Rome. However, in the end, Carthage, because of Rome, was wiped completely off the face of the earth. Even so much,
just because Rome was so scared of him.
Just because Rome was so scared of Hannibal. I mean, even when he went back, he was called back, and he went and he recovered them financially. He became a statesman and recovered them financially. And he was saying that, Carthage had become strong again. It was like, well, we got to get him. And he knew that. And so the Carthage allowed him to escape. However, he's seen that Rome was not going to let him live, period. No matter where he went, they chased him. And so he took his own life, so to speak. That so is how it goes. However, the first 2 chapters, unless anybody has anything else, I mean, this is already off the bat. It's powerful. It's powerful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
It's going to be a good book.
It's going to be a dang good book.
Mm-hmm.
And so, does anybody have
conversation?
Yeah. Anybody have anything else want to add about the conversation? How about the discussion?
No, sir. I'm good.
No, we
Okay.
can end with. I mean, it does end with Carthage, and I mean, the biggest takeaway with that is, I mean, Carthage, Rome was obviously scared of them, and only reason why Carthage lost to Rome is just the simple fact that Rome was more organized. They were more unified than Carthage was.
And I wouldn't even, I mean, that too. And then, Rome had to get the northern kingdoms on its side that were ruled by Carthage, because without them, they wouldn't have done it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So the other northern kingdoms simply said, okay, once you defeat Carthage, allow us to be our own state. You know what I mean?
Right.
Run our own rule. And then when Rome defeated Carthage, Rome came and defeated all of them as well too. Like
That's
some
right.
dummies.
yeah.
Like you really? Come on now. We're gonna take out one and not gonna take out the other.
Yeah. No, that's
They're
a great
smart.
point. That's a great point. That's exactly what was a part of it too. They turned on Carthage, and hey, as we know, Rome was they were fighters, warriors to the end. They didn't. They took everything. So, with that being said, hit us with that spotlight on the beautiful people, King.
All right, we got the spotlight for today. Our spotlight for today's podcast is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing wrote the book Race Theory and a Controversial Legacy. Few psychiatrists in American history have sparked as much debate outside of clinical medicine as Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Known for her outspoken views on race, power, and global systems, her work continues to be studied, criticized, and discussed decades after its publication. In Dr. Cress Welsing, her medical background, her most famous theories, and why her work remains both influential and highly controversial. Her training as a psychiatrist and her work in Washington, D.C., the development of her book, The ISIS Papers, y'all have to read that if you haven't read it yet. Her Cress theory of color confrontation, public response from scholars, activists, and clinicals, her impact on Afrocentric thought and modern culture debate. Why it matters. Welsing's work itself sits at the intersection of psychiatry, sociology, and political thought, making her one of the most discussed and debated intellectual figures in conversations about race in America. Who was Dr. Frances Cress Welsing? Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, 1935-2006, was an American psychiatrist best known for her writings on race, psychology, and systems of power. Like I said, she trained in Washington, D.C. Her focus was mental health in Black communities. In her most famous book is The ISIS Paper, The Keys to the Colors, 1991. She proposed a framework she called the Cress theory of color conformation, which suggests that racism could be understood as a system tied to a global power dynamic and psychological fear. Influential in some Afrocentric and Black intellectual circles. She was criticized by many, not accepted in mainstream psychology or social science. Critics argue her framework relies on a broad generalization about race. Scholars often distinguish her clinical psychiatry training from her political theories. Her legacy, well, let's say bottom line. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was a trained psychiatrist whose writings moved beyond clinical psychiatry into racial and social theory. Her ideas are widely discussed, often controversial, and remain influential in certain intellectual and cultural spaces, while also being heavily debated in economic science. So our spotlight for tonight is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Right on.
Cool. Appreciate that for sure. Kings, beautiful podcast. Again, get this book, follow along with us, African Glory. We're just beginning it, and we'll be moving on through it. We'll dissect chapter, we'll read along, and please join us for the discussions. We're on Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Deezer, Riverside FM, Instagram, we'll
YouTube.
hook up YouTube, and King Mac hooked up the TikTok, and I will get that hooked up. My goodness, I apologize for that, but I will get that hooked up today.
No, you
And
good.
if you can't see these handsome faces, hey, if you can't see these handsome faces, listen to it on that audio. Listen to these beautiful voices coming at you. It's been beautiful, Kings.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely wonderful. You ready to close it out?
Come on with it.
As always, guys, we're here to show faith, trust in your own power, believe deeply in your purpose, and build unshakable confidence through action. And dedication, show up when no one's watching. Stand firm in your commitment to grow. Put in the reps mentally, physically, and daily. And discipline. Forge your own character through consistency. Set your code and follow it without compromise. Control your impulses and command your results.
Awesome stuff.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Wednesdays, noon, we got open mic. Apologize, King. We will see you there. Join us. Beautiful stuff. Love you guys.
Love you.